everybody. So our final of the 4 MOSs, Special Forces MOSs that we're going to talk about is the 18 Delta. So our Special Forces medics, right? Probably the most important job on any ODA, especially in the realm of combat, right? So quick rundown of what a 18 Delta is, right? So again, there are team medics, right? Team doctors, whatever you want to call it. These guys are incredibly highly trained at trauma medicine, but also can do all sorts of things. They do veterinarian medicine, they can deliver babies, they can do almost, huge wide range of things that these guys can do, right? So almost to the doctor level in a lot of different things. And they do it in austere rural environments, right? So definitely a cool job if you're into the medical side of things, but we'll get into a quick rundown like we have in the other videos of all the things 18 Delta related, right? So the 18 Delta course, okay, so this one is actually, of the 4, is sort of the most unique and the longest, right? Why is that? Okay, so our 18 Deltas once they go to selection, they get selected. Before they join us, our peers, our Echoes, Charlies, Bravos, in the Q course, they have to go to a school called SOCM. It's basically Special Operation Combat Medic School. Navy SEALs go, Green Berets go, I think MARSOC, maybe PJs, bunch of different branches, Special Operator, medics all go to this course. Heavily trauma medicine related. Can't get into too much about what they do there, but just take that for what it is, okay? So it's about a year of extra medical training at school that these guys go to before they even start the Q course, right? So the course is about a year extra, provided that they make it through their first time, than all the other MOSs, right? And one of the dangers, and I know a lot of guys that had this happen to them, by doing that first, right, there's guys that make it all the way to like the final collex after a whole year and they end up not passing and they get recycled into a different MOS, 18 Echo, Charlie, whatever, and then start the Q course. So they basically just waste a year. Now, it's not completely wasted because they actually become very medically trained, right, which is good to have a guy like that on your team, but kind of crappy that you spent that long not to continue on with your 18 Delta, right? So, and then the actual 18 Delta course, they do, a bunch of different stuff, like veterinarian medicine. They work in a hospital for a while, do clinical stuff, pediatrics, all kinds of different stuff like that, right? So these guys are very well versed in medicine, all sorts of different medicine. And again, part of that is for the team, but part of that is also when we're working with, local national forces in the middle of nowhere in Afghanistan where they have no medical treatments for anyone. The 18 Delta is sort of the guy that's providing treatment to all the villagers and stuff as well. Okay, so moving on. ODA responsibilities for the 18 Delta. Okay, so obvious ones, they're the team medics, right? They're the team doctors, right? They're going to provide all the meds, they're going to provide all the treatments guys need, right? That they can do at their level, right? If we're forward deployed in Afghanistan, that dude is like my doctor, right? He's going to give me medications I need. He's going to take care of what he can take care of, right? He's obviously not a surgeon. If I need like super high level care, obviously I got to go somewhere else for that. But internally, he's basically the team doctor, okay? Tactically, right? So of course, Special Forces medic can treat people, right? But if we're in situations, which we get in a lot, and I've been in them myself, where we have what's called a mass casualty, right? Tons of casualties all in one spot. The 18 Delta is actually more of a triage manager than he is an actual person treating. So keep in mind, everybody else on the ODA, including me, are incredibly highly trained at trauma medicine, right? Not just the medics. So I more likely am going to be the one actively treating casualties while the 18 Delta is sort of managing everything. Hey, do this to this guy. Hey, this guy needs to go over here. Whatever, right? So that's really the role they play. And extreme casualty events like that, right? So, and then also, like I mentioned before, they're there to sort of treat, potentially the army that we're working with, the guys we're working with, but also the locals and the villagers, right? Part of that win hearts and minds that didn't obviously work, but that's part of it, right? Is providing that to the local communities that we're trying to work with too. Okay, so admin tasks. We talked about how 18 Charlie's had the worst admin tasks. 18 Delta, I think, is the best for admin tasks, and that it has the least sort of amount of work that goes into it. So the 18 Delta is considered the S1, or if you don't know what that means, it's basically the administrative paperwork guy, right? So he's in charge of upkeeping all the teams. S1, we have things called like per stat and stuff like that, information based off of each person that we got to keep up on. Immunizations, right? We go to places in Southeast Asia and swamps, and you need specific typhoid vaccinations or whatever, malaria. He's the one that's making sure all the guys on the team stay updated in that type of stuff that they need to. Also, he's got to maintain the medical inventory. He's got a huge medical inventory that he has to maintain, from medicines to equipment to all that sorts of different stuff that falls on his plate. And again, it does turn out to be typically the lowest admin workload. Once guy's paperwork is correct, and once he has the medical supplies and his immunizations are up to date, not a whole lot comparatively to an 18 Charlie who's doing inventories, logistics, and all this crazy stuff, or 18 Echo doing radio requests and tracking down inventories, batteries, and all these different things we got to do. 18 Delta sort of gets off a little scot-free. Not completely, but in a lot of ways, he usually got the least workload administratively. Okay, so they paid for it up front with having to go to school way longer than us. I guess you could look at it that way, to have a little bit less workload once they're on the team. And then schools. So schools are kind of interesting, but some common ones people don't realize that usually happen for a lot of 18 Deltas. One is like the 18 Bravos, is sniper school. Part of the reason for that ideology is that we don't put our 18 Deltas, or we try not to put them in sort of that lead element or the front of the stack or anything like that, right? Because we don't want our doctor being the one who gets shot in the face first, okay? So it actually lends to having our 18 Deltas do things, be like the guy in the sniper outpost or whatever he's doing, okay? So that's a common school for them to go to. They do refreshers all the time on their medical school. I think like once a year or once every couple of years, they have to go do a big multiple week refresher. That's a requirement. And then another really common one is called, I think it's DMT is what we call it. Special Operator DMT, something like that. Anyway, basically a dive medical technician. Okay, so anytime a dive team or a maritime team have to do training in the water, they have to have a dive medical technician, someone certified in that, there as part of that training. Okay, so even if you're not on a dive team and you're an 18 Delta, it's highly likely that you're going to have to go to that school, get your certification. That way you can help out the other ODAs, the dive teams, the maritime teams, when they have training and they don't have enough of their own guys to do it. So that's just something to be on the lookout for. But yeah, so that's going to wrap up our 4 Special Forces MOSs. If you guys have any questions regarding that, then let me know. All right, guys. Have a good one.